The most powerful force on earth is a human soul on fire. You have a deep ache in your soul for something more, to come alive, to let your passion pour from you like an endless well. When your passion comes alive, the magnificence buried deep inside of you is unleashed. Gifts and talents you never realized surface as your life unfolds like poetry. You can do hard things. I can show you how. This is Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, where I teach you how to heal yourself from the inside out. Hello, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So if you're listening to this, it is being dropped between that vague time of right between Christmas and right between New Year's, where people are kind of floating around with less routine, being triggered to hell from their family, or maybe dealing with different feels around the holidays, or maybe just like enjoying themselves. There's so many different categories, compassion and love to whatever category you fall into, and maybe you're a mixed bag like me. So today's podcast is a short one, but I wanted to drop a little bit of love just in case you are dealing with family and boundaries and how to apply those boundaries in a way that is going to have you heard, but also establish the boundaries without kind of like needle off the record, like, and everyone like stops to look at you. So I actually had to do this last night. I was at my dad's house, and, it's him and his wife is very lovely. And, she invited over her, lovely brother and his wife. And, he is, older, I guess, sort of patriarch of the family, old Finnish dude. He's wonderful. So is his wife. But he does have a tendency to talk over people. And I just won't have it. And especially, it's like not all, but I think most people could agree with me when I say this, that older gentlemen of that generation have a tendency to be at least a little bit sexist, at least a little bit, like women should be seen and not heard type of mentality. Again, generalized statement, but I think, times are a-changing, times are different, but that's the way a lot of men were raised, especially if they're now in their, 60s, 70s, 80s, which this gentleman is. So anyways, I decided to bust out this game, which, by the way, I really recommend this game. It's called Let's Get Real Bro. I bought it for a couple of my friends. And it's a card game that stimulates some real conversation. So one thing for me is that I really love like deep and meaningful conversation. Obviously I love hearing and seeing the truth of people's hearts. And, some people aren't willing to go there too easily, or it's just not natural to them. And so this card game kind of like nudges them gently to start opening up about things that they might not normally open up about. And it sparks some beautiful conversation. So I'm not getting any kickbacks from this company. Their advertising is brilliant though. They said it's a mix of Cards Against Humanity meets your therapist. And I was like, sold. I was like, that's kind of me. So anyways, we were playing this card game. And he had a tendency to, give his input as everyone gave their answer, which can be fine, but then he would kind of like steal away their chance to speak. And he did this to not just me, but to all the other women in the room. It seemed like he was doing it to specifically the women. After the first time, I was like, oh, okay, maybe, let's let this slide. Second time, I'm getting a little annoyed. Third time, I said something. And I was able to say it in a way that he received it. And then I could see all of a sudden it brought awareness to the behavior. So, he interrupted me. I let him finish. And I said, hey, bleep, I won't say his name. do you mind if I continue my story now? I would really like to finish. And he paused, and then he said, oh, yes, go ahead. And he looked a little surprised. And why it's important that we do things like that is to take the needle off the record for them. Here's the thing, is a lot of times people don't realize they're doing it. And, he's kind of like the old patriarch of the family. He's a storyteller, right? And I don't think there's any ill intention. But here's the thing too, on my end, I had a need to be heard. I don't get to see my family that often. He gets to see them so much more than I do. And beyond that, it's like everybody, wants to be heard. Everybody has a need to be heard, to be seen. And here's the thing is if we, if we're aware, everyone can be seen and heard in these gatherings. And so I said that. And then, he kind of came to attention, needle off the record for him. I felt, I was able to express, and then I was able to express what was in my heart. And I could see that, my dad was happy for that, because then he chimed in about something and the conversation continued. So that wasn't like a full on boundary, but it was like, I guess, more of an asserting myself in a way of using nonviolent communication. I also think I threw in there, I have a need to be heard. So there is a way to do these things to where you can express yourself, and it's not like needle off the record for the party, like everyone stops and looks at you, and but it was a moment of bringing awareness to his pattern of behavior while allowing myself to be heard. And maybe, if it happened throughout the night more, they actually wound up leaving shortly thereafter. But if it was something that had continued to happen, I would have brought a little bit more awareness to that in clearer words. So I thought I would share that with you because that wasn't old me. Old me would just sit there and just think, well, what? Like, why do I feel disconnected? I feel not included. Because that was the feeling I was feeling. I was like, I don't feel included. I don't feel included. Why don't I feel included? Oh, well, when someone's talking over you and not listening, that's what happens. And then you start to feel resentful. And, like I said, I think with the older generation of gentlemen, and again, they don't mean any harm, but I think that, some of them might fall into this patterning as well. So hopefully that helps. I think just, a few quick takeaways is they're probably not doing on purpose. They're probably unaware of the behavior. You can do it in a way to where you can feel heard. And if you find a way to do it, like, nonviolent communication, again, not assuming that they're causing you any harm or, doing anything purposely, then a lot of times you can communicate it in a neutral way. So I hope that helps. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your holiday. Take it easy on the cheese and wine and try to find a little bit of peace and quiet for yourself during this holiday. And by the way, update, I have 2 more spots left for my Costa Rica retreat. I also have 2 more spots left for coach training for January. So if you want to hop on that, I am giving a little discount for online people who join us from online. I tried it last time. It was awesome. I think that's it. Again, fantastic holiday. Namaste.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin@erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Last thing, we have a coaching certification coming up, and it's 7 days of an intensive work. followed by a 3-month mentorship. You will not find another teacher that's more passionate and dedicated than I am to my students and their learning. And not just their learning, but the application and how they show up in their life. If you've been listening to this podcast and it's had a huge impact on your life, just imagine what it would be like to spend 7 intensive days with me and then a 3-month mentorship. You can check that out at thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Again, thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Thank you so much. Namaste.